The story of a marriage proposal is something they cherish forever, a magical moment wrapped in romance, nerves, and unforgettable emotion. But for television presenter Ben Shephard, the memory of proposing to his wife Annie Shephard isn't quite the fairy tale people might expect. In fact, Ben himself has often described the moment as traumatic. While the couple has enjoyed a strong and loving marriage for more than 2 decades, the story behind how Ben asked Annie to marry him is one he still laughs and winces about today. A love story before the spotlight. Long before Ben became a familiar face on morning television through shows like Good Morning Britain and This Morning, he was simply a young man navigating life, career ambitions, and a relationship that meant everything to him. Ben and Annie met while they were both still young, long before fame entered the picture. Their connection was immediate, a bond built on humor, loyalty, and mutual support. Friends often said the pair seemed perfectly matched, sharing similar values and a love for family life. As Ben's television career slowly began gaining momentum, Annie remained the steady presence beside him. While he chased opportunities in broadcasting, she quietly supported him behind the scenes, keeping their relationship grounded. Over time, Ben knew Annie was the person he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. But knowing who you want to marry and figuring out how to ask are 2 very different challenges. The plan that didn't go as planned. Ben wanted the proposal to be special. Not flashy or overly dramatic, just meaningful and memorable. At least, that was the idea. But as the big moment approached, nerves began creeping in. Ben later admitted that even though he spent years confidently presenting live television, nothing made him more anxious than asking Annie to marry him. The pressure he put on himself to make the moment perfect became overwhelming. According to Ben, what followed was a chain of awkward mishaps that turned the romantic plan into what he jokingly calls one of the most stressful experiences of my life. Instead of the smooth, heartfelt moment he imagined, the proposal quickly became a chaotic mixture of nerves, confusion, and embarrassing timing. A moment frozen in panic. When the moment finally arrived, Ben's nerves got the better of him. Rather than delivering the carefully thought-out speech he had rehearsed in his head, his mind suddenly went blank. Words stumbled out in fragments, his voice shaking as he tried to explain what Annie meant to him. Ben later recalled feeling like time had stopped, not in a magical, cinematic way, but in the painfully awkward silence that followed his fumbling attempt at a proposal. For a split second, he genuinely feared he had ruined the moment completely. Was Annie confused? Had he said the right thing? Did she even understand he was proposing? The panic that rushed through his mind in those seconds was something Ben says he'll never forget. Annie's reaction. Thankfully, Annie understood exactly what was happening. Despite Ben's nerves and the somewhat chaotic way the proposal unfolded, Annie saw the sincerity behind his words. The love, the commitment, and the vulnerability were all there, even if the delivery wasn't perfect. And, of course, she said yes. But the emotional roller coaster of that moment left such an impression on Ben that he still describes it as traumatic years later, though now with a big smile. Looking back, he often jokes that presenting live television is far less stressful than proposing to the woman you love. A marriage built on real moments. Ben and Annie married in 2004 and have since built a life that reflects the genuine connection they've always shared. Their relationship has remained remarkably private compared to many celebrity couples. Annie has largely stayed away from the spotlight, choosing instead to focus on family life while Ben continues his television career. Together, they have 2 sons and have created a warm, supportive home environment. For Ben, family has always been the center of everything. Even as his professional life has grown busier, especially with major roles on shows like Tipping Point, he often speaks about how important it is to balance work with time at home. Laughing about it now. Over the years, Ben has occasionally shared the story of his proposal during interviews or television appearances. Each time, the audience reacts with the same mixture of amusement and sympathy. After all, many people can relate to the pressure of trying to make a life-changing moment perfect, only for reality to unfold in an entirely different way. For Ben, The story has become something of a running joke. He's admitted that Annie still teases him about how nervous he was that day. Whenever the topic of romantic gestures comes up, she doesn't hesitate to remind him of his traumatic proposal. Yet the teasing is always affectionate, a reminder of how far they've come together. The secret to their long marriage. In a world where celebrity relationships often face intense public scrutiny, Ben and Annie's marriage has quietly stood the test of time. When asked about the secret to their relationship, Ben often credits honesty, patience, and humor. He has also spoken about the importance of appreciating everyday moments rather than focusing only on grand gestures. Ironically, the imperfect proposal may actually symbolize that philosophy perfectly. The moment wasn't flawless. It wasn't cinematic. But it was real. And sometimes, those imperfect moments become the most meaningful memories of all. Fame never changed their foundation. Despite Ben's growing success on television, Annie has remained a grounding influence in his life. Friends close to the couple say she keeps Ben humble, reminding him of what truly matters beyond television studios and public appearances. Ben himself has acknowledged that without Annie's support, balancing career and family life would have been far more difficult. She has been there through every stage of his journey, from early career uncertainty to becoming one of Britain's most recognizable TV presenters. A story that still makes him cringe. Even now, years later, Ben admits the memory of that proposal still makes him cringe a little. Whenever someone asks about it, he laughs and shakes his head, remembering the nerves, the awkward pause, and the panic that flooded his mind. But beneath the humor is a deep appreciation for how Annie responded in that moment. She saw past the nerves and the messy delivery and recognized the love behind it. Why the story matters. Ben's proposal story resonates with people because it reflects something universal. Real relationships aren't always perfectly scripted. They include awkward moments, nerves, mistakes, and unexpected turns. But those experiences often strengthen the bond between two people. For Ben and Annie, the so-called traumatic proposal has become a symbol of authenticity, proof that even life's most important moments don't need to be flawless to be meaningful. Looking back with gratitude. Today, Ben often reflects on how lucky he feels. Not just because Annie said yes that day, but because she continues to stand beside him after all these years. Their relationship has grown through shared experiences, family milestones, and the everyday joys and challenges of married life. And while Ben might jokingly wish he could redo the proposal with smoother words and calmer nerves, Annie likely wouldn't change a thing. After all, the story has become part of their history, a moment they can laugh about together. The proposal that became a legend. For fans of Ben Shephard, the idea that such a confident television host once struggled so much to propose is both surprising and endearing. It shows a different side of the presenter, one that reminds people he's just like everyone else when it comes to matters of the heart. And while the proposal might still haunt him in a humorous way, it ultimately led to the life he treasures today. A loving marriage, a supportive family, and a story that will probably follow him for the rest of his career. Because sometimes, the most unforgettable love stories aren't the perfect ones. They're the ones that start with a little chaos, a lot of nerves, and a heartfelt yes.